So under normal circumstances before Corona, we would have a fairly traditional format in classrooms. Our group size tend to vary, but around 15 is fairly typical. Students tend to do pair work, group work. We might have whole class discussion as well together. And then from the teacher's perspective, you might, for example, prepare photocopies. You might also have video material to work with. So a variety of activities, but basically they take place in a classroom. Obviously, Corona forced us to do things differently. With English 2, we had already planned to do this as a blended learning course using Ilias. Although everything wasn't finalized, we still had a lot of last minute work and organization to do on that. We used Ilias as our platform, and I had to obviously upload the materials that I wanted students to use. That could be links to web pages, it could be materials in PDF format, links to videos, that kind of thing. And we had to work out how to enable students to work independently on tasks, but then how we could also still keep some contact. Well, I think it's a learning process. I don't think that everything is perfect. But I think what we in the Language Centre have learned is that students want to know what's coming. You have to try to plan things in advance and make sure that they know what to expect. So it's important to be very clear in your communication with students. That's not always easy from a teaching perspective because you also need to stay flexible and sometimes you need to change things at the last minute, so it's quite challenging. The other thing I think you have to remember as a teacher is that students are individuals. We knew this before Corona, but because we've all been focused on doing things differently, I think this has kind of become more apparent for us. Students are individuals. What some like, others will hate. You as a teacher, especially at the moment, we're constantly trying new things. We have an expression in English which is, you can please some of the people all of the time, you can please all of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. And I think that has been quite apparent. So as a teacher, you need to try to remember that different students like different things. You need to try and give a variety of activity types. And just try to make sure that there's something for everybody. I think you also need to remember not to overload students. Try to simplify things as much as possible because obviously learning online is quite different and they have an awful lot to process sitting in front of the computer for a lot of the day. So try to simplify things for students. And the other thing that I try to do is try to help students see the positive side of this. I think that this digital semester under Corona circumstances has been extremely challenging for students, but they have been forced to do things in a way which will be very relevant for the world of work when they graduate. I think nowadays everybody has to be ready to adapt quickly to new circumstances, to learn to use new tools quickly, or collaborate remotely in teams. And so although it may have been very stressful for students during Corona, those are really useful skills for the workplace. And in some ways, even if some students have discovered things that they really don't like about digital learning, that's useful information to know as a student. Because when you come to planning your career, maybe you will have discovered in more depth what you like and what you don't like in terms of everyday activities. I definitely plan to continue this as a blended learning module after Corona. Partly because, as I said, we focus more on kind of reading and writing. There are certain tasks that students, I think, can do much more easily in their own time, when they're ready, sit down at home somewhere quiet and read something or write something. To me, that's much more convenient than being in a group with background noise in a classroom and somebody telling you, okay, now you have 30 minutes to do this. So I think that blended learning really offers flexibility. Obviously then we can use classroom time to focus on discussion, speaking, and we can get more out of that time for those kind of things. So I think blended learning really makes sense from a language teaching point of view, at least for students who already have a reasonable level of the language. And yeah, I think that flexibility is important. Our students here often, they need to work part-time while they're studying, for example, to support themselves while they're studying. Or perhaps they have to go off and do some kind of placement or trip or something. And so I think being able to offer more flexible learning options is really important for students. So yeah, I will definitely plan to try to continue with blended learning. And I hope that students will be able to kind of see the value in that. I think that everybody also needs to remember that this digital learning year has taken place under very difficult circumstances with Corona, and I think it's important to draw a line between how things have happened under those difficult circumstances and how things could be once we get past Corona, and people can go back to having a social life and having more variety in your everyday activities. Then perhaps blended learning will be more of a positive thing, and we'll have more time to plan things, and also we'll have the feedback from students to work with as well. So yeah, I hope that the opportunities for blended learning will get more interesting in the future after Corona.